Hi everyone, my name is Mark, and today we're going to take a look at another horrible case with you. Julia Simmons was living with Stephen Nicholas, a divorced day trader, in his 3-bedroom home outside Portland, Oregon. According to Julia, she and Stephen met online when she was looking for a place to rent. She thought Stephen was charming and nice. While Julia and Stephen lived together, Stephen met Julia's 20-year-old daughter, Rhonda. Stephen, 10 years older than Rhonda, thought she was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. Stephen became smitten with Rhonda. It was hard not to be. In addition to her beautiful looks, she had an incredible personality. What surprised Stephen the most was Rhonda appeared interested in him too, so they started to date. As their relationship progressed, Stephen and Rhonda became more serious. Eventually, the couple decided to live together, and Rhonda moved into Stephen's condo. During the time Stephen and Rhonda dated, he developed a close connection with her family, particularly her sisters, Melanie and Tessa. Initially, when Rhonda and Stephen began their relationship, Tessa was only 9 years old. She found Stephen incredibly fun and playful, which made her enjoy spending time with him. Years went by, and Stephen and Rhonda continued living together as a committed couple, but they never married. Rhonda often wondered what it would have been like to be married to Stephen. Her friends knew how badly she wanted to get married, and they felt she was holding out for hope. Stephen claimed they were going to get married in the summer of 2009, on his timetable. However, they did have a baby girl, and being a mother became the best part of her life. Her daughter became the focus of her world, and Rhonda cherished every moment she spent with her. She loved being a mom. Rhonda enjoyed being a mom and spending time with her daughter. However, she also yearned to restart her modeling career. According to Stephen, after Rhonda had their daughter, she was the heaviest she had ever been. Stephen claimed Rhonda felt disgusting. He said they made a commitment to hike the 25 best trails in Oregon together in an attempt to lose weight. After the birth of their daughter, Stephen expressed that things were going well in his and Rhonda's relationship, and they rarely argued. He believed that they had become stronger than ever before. However, a different story was told by Rhonda's friends. They revealed that Rhonda had confided in them about Stephen's abusive behavior. Rhonda had once taken pictures of her back using a mirror to document bruises caused by a fight with Stephen. On March 16, 2009, Stephen and Rhonda, who was 23, went on a hike on the Eagle Creek Trail. As the couple made their way down the trail, Rhonda captured a photo of Stephen using her cell phone. Before leaving for their hike, Rhonda jokingly texted her mother, "He's either going to give me a ring or throw me off a cliff, ha ha ha." The weather was beautiful as they continued their walk. However, Stephen later claimed that Rhonda started to behave strangely. According to Stephen, Rhonda asked him what would happen if anything ever happened to her, and if he would take care of their daughter. He said, of course. As the weather began to worsen, Stephen informed Rhonda that it was time to head home. Instead of turning back, Stephen claimed that Rhonda wrapped a towel around her shoulders, declared herself Supergirl, and started to run down the narrow, slippery pathway. Stephen claimed that he witnessed Rhonda slip and fall over the side of the Eagle Creek Trail, approximately 150 feet. After Rhonda fell off the Eagle Creek Trail, Stephen claimed that he hiked down to the ravine in which she had landed because he couldn't get cell service and held her body. He tried to call 911 but had no service, leaving him no choice but to leave her behind. According to Stephen, he walked to the trailhead, where he finally managed to contact emergency services. Later that day, rescue workers removed Rhonda's body. According to Rhonda's family, Stephen showed no emotion during her memorial service. Stephen claims the exact opposite is true and said he was crying nonstop, and when he gets really sad, he shuts people out and wants to be alone. Shortly after Rhonda died, Stephen packed up his and their daughter's things and moved to the other side of Oregon with his daughter to live near his family. This move left Rhonda's family feeling suspicious. Rhonda's family wondered what had happened between the two of them during the moments leading up to Rhonda's death. In 2006, Stephen made a decision to relocate from the United States to China. This decision marked the beginning of a new chapter in his life. With his young daughter in tow, Stephen decided to settle in Wuxi, a city located approximately 75 miles outside of Shanghai. Stephen had lived in China during his first marriage and developed a love for the country and its people. While living in China, Stephen was hired to teach English to Chinese business people. His daughter, Rhonda, was adjusting to life in China quickly. Within 2 months of moving there, she had become fluent in Mandarin. Both Stephen and his daughter were thriving. During their time in China, Stephen met and fell in love with a woman named Landy Yin Yan. Landy and his daughter formed a strong bond, with Landy taking on the role of a mother figure. Stephen appreciated how Landy had stepped in and embraced the role of a parental figure to his daughter. After 1 year of dating, Stephen decided to take his relationship to the next level by asking Landy to marry him. To his delight, she said yes. In February 2015, Stephen and his daughter flew back to the United States, where the couple planned to marry. They decided to have 2 ceremonies, one in America and one in China, to accommodate both of their families and friends. Stephen and his daughter arrived in the United States 1 day before his fiancée. As they got off the plane in San Francisco to catch their connecting flight to Oregon, an officer approached Stephen and informed him they needed to detain him because there was something wrong with his bag. Little did he know that this encounter would set off a chain of events that would change his life forever. Minutes later, the police arrived and separated Stephen from his daughter. Unbeknownst to him, the entire time he had been living in China, detectives had been working diligently on his girlfriend Rhonda's death investigation. Suspicious circumstances surrounding Rhonda's fall from Eagle Creek prompted them to keep the inquiry going, and they eventually came to the conclusion that Stephen was the one who was responsible for her death. Rhonda's mother had been instrumental in keeping the investigation open. She reached out to the detectives all the time, asking for updates. The police arrested Stephen at the airport for Rhonda's murder and extradited him to Oregon. After Stephen was arrested, he claimed that he thought he was dreaming. Stephen hoped he would open his eyes and find himself home in China, with Landy by his side. However, this was no nightmare. This was real life. Stephen's bail was initially set at $2 million. He spent the next 14 months behind bars awaiting his trial. The judge reduced Stephen's bail to $250,000, and his attorney secured the bond. Then Stephen was released with an ankle monitor. When Rhonda's family found out Stephen had been arrested for her murder, they were overjoyed at the news, knowing that justice was finally being served. Rhonda's mother, in particular, could not contain her emotions as she heard the news and burst into tears. The arrest of Stephen brought a sense of relief and solace to Rhonda's loved ones, who had been mourning her loss for years. After Stephen's arrest, his attorney took his investigative team to the Eagle Creek Trail, where Rhonda fell to her death. They wanted to conduct experiments to prove to the court that Rhonda slipped in an accident and was not pushed by Stephen. Stephen's defense attorney said the Eagle Creek Trail is one of the most hiked areas in the Columbia River Gorge because of the beauty of the area. During one of Stephen's preliminary hearings, the medical examiner who performed Rhonda's autopsy after her fall from Eagle Creek determined Rhonda's injuries were all below her waist. This discovery was pivotal to Stephen's defense strategy, as it provided them with an opportunity to argue that Rhonda had taken her own life. Stevens's defense team argued that the impact of hitting the ground caused Rhonda's broken pelvis and evidence she had fallen feet first rather than tumbling head over heels, which would suggest she had been pushed. In addition to presenting evidence regarding Rhonda's injuries, the defense team also sought to utilize notes from her therapy sessions as evidence. These notes stated that Rhonda was depressed, but never expressed thoughts of taking her own life. Furthermore, Rhonda herself had described her relationship with Stephen as a loveless state. Stephen's defense team argued that Rhonda's depression and description of her relationship were indicators that she had chosen to take her own life. By presenting this evidence, they aimed to cast doubt on the prosecution's theory that Stephen had pushed Rhonda, causing the injuries that led to her death. Stephen later claimed that Rhonda was depressed and attempted to take her life multiple times before they ever met. Rhonda's family denied these allegations and accused Stephen of lying. Her loved ones claimed Stephen was blaming Rhonda for taking her life to get the attention off of him because he murdered her. According to Stephen, Rhonda also struggled with substance abuse since the age of 12. He alleged that she tried various drugs and had experimented with a wide range of substances. However, the medical examiner's report revealed only the presence of slight traces of marijuana and the prescription medication for anxiety and depression that Rhonda was taking due to struggles with postpartum. Disturbing evidence emerged during the preliminary hearings into Rhonda's murder, shedding light on the involvement of Stephen. It was revealed that Stephen had been involved in a romantic relationship with Rhonda's 16-year-old sister, Melanie. This revelation raised eyebrows as Stephen was in his 30s while Melanie was still a minor. The state presented the court with the argument that Stephen's inappropriate relationship with Melanie could potentially be a motive for murdering Rhonda. Rhonda had become aware of her husband's actions behind her back, leading to tensions and a possible motive to kill her. After Stephen was arrested for Rhonda's murder, he was indicted on 2 counts of third-degree sexual assault and 3 counts of third-degree sodomy regarding his relationship with Rhonda Casto, his girlfriend Rhonda's sister. While awaiting trial for Rhonda's murder in 2005, Stephen pleaded guilty to 2 counts of sexual abuse. The statement signed by Stephen read, "I had sexual intercourse with Rhonda Casto twice." However, Stephen claimed that he was coerced into admitting the sexual abuse and that his admission was untrue. According to Stephen, the only reason he pleaded was that the law would allow him to fight and potentially regain custody of his daughter. Stephen said that he was desperate and wanted his daughter back. On the other hand, the state claimed that the relationship between Stephen and Melanie lasted over 4 years. Later, Stephen would admit he did have a sexual relationship with Rhonda's teenage sister. The state presented a text message Rhonda sent to her teenage sister Melanie, who had an illicit relationship with Stephen before she and Stephen went on that fateful hike on Eagle Creek the day she fell to her death. In the text message, Rhonda referred to Stephen as a piece of garbage and said Stephen used Melanie to hurt Rhonda. Rhonda's mother stated Rhonda knew that Stephen was trying to drive a wedge between Rhonda and Melanie. She claimed Rhonda loved her little sister and wanted to repair their relationship. According to the state, not all was well in the relationship between Rhonda and Stephen, as Stephen claimed. The court was provided with more evidence indicating that Stephen had a deviant sexual past. It was revealed that just 6 months after the mother of his daughter, Rhonda, passed away, Stephen was arrested and charged with 5 counts of sexual abuse for allegedly touching a 13-year-old girl. Stephen refuted these allegations, maintaining his innocence. However, he later admitted to sending a sexually suggestive text message and a picture with his shirt off to the victim. He acknowledged the inappropriate nature of his actions and pleaded guilty to 1 count of sexual harassment. At one of Stephen's preliminary hearings, the state presented the court with photos taken by Rhonda, documenting her bruised back. Rhonda's best friend said she witnessed Rhonda and Stephen fight a few times when she was on the phone with Rhonda and could hear them arguing in the background. In addition to these photos, the court also heard testimony from Stephen's ex-wife, who claimed that he had attempted to suffocate her and throw her over the railing of their 8th-floor apartment in November 2003. Stephen was not charged with any crime in China in relation to this incident, and he denied the allegations. Rhonda's family firmly believes that her boyfriend, Stephen, was responsible for her death. They feel he murdered her to cash in on a life insurance policy that he had taken out on her, which he had recently increased. Her mother expressed her suspicions, stating that Stephen had lost a substantial amount of money through day trading the previous year and was not financially stable. Furthermore, everyone who knew Rhonda can attest to the fact that she had a deep love for her 9-month-old daughters, and there is no way she would have taken her own life by jumping from Eagle Creek. In May 2017, Rhonda's family was shocked and horrified when they learned that the state had arranged a meeting with the defense and had come to an agreement. Stephen pleaded guilty to the lesser charge of criminally negligent homicide. Although the state believed he had murdered her, they knew the case against him was weak due to the lack of physical evidence proving he had pushed her from the trail at Eagle Creek. Stephen was given credit for the time he served while awaiting trial. However, he had to remain on parole for 3 years. Stephen had his ankle monitor removed and was released from custody. To Rhonda's family and friends, Stephen taking a plea deal was not justice. They felt that he should have faced harsher consequences for his actions. During Stephen's sentencing hearing, Rhonda's sister made an impact statement. She expressed her anger and frustration towards him and told him that he had destroyed her whole family and had caused immense pain and sorrow. Rhonda's mother also expressed her confusion and frustration, stating that she could not understand how Stephen could have taken away her daughter, leaving their family shattered. Stephen claimed that he had not pushed Rhonda, but had taken the deal because time was running out for him to regain custody of his daughter. He stated that he had been willing to face the consequences of his actions for the sake of his child. However, despite Stephen's claims, Rhonda's family and friends remained unconvinced. During a 2018 interview, Stephen made a startling allegation regarding the fate of Rhonda, his war buddy. According to Stephen, on the day of her fatal fall, she was still alive when he hiked down Eagle Creek Trail and found her. The interviewer then questioned Stephen if he had put Rhonda out of her misery that day. Stephen responded by asking the interviewer a hypothetical question. If you shoot your war buddy because you see how much pain he's in, is that murder? He argued that such an act could be considered a justified homicide, although it was still a homicide. While Stephen never explicitly admitted to harming Rhonda, his comments allude to the possibility of his involvement in her death. In 2017, Rhonda's mother applied for Social Security survivor benefits on behalf of Rhonda's infant daughter. Rhonda's mother claimed that her granddaughter lived with her, and she promised to use the benefits solely for the baby's care. However, the state alleged that between April 2010 and December 2014, when Rhonda's mother claimed the little girl lived with her, she had, in fact, been living with her father, Stephen. The state charged Rhonda's mother with theft of government funds totaling nearly $40,000 over 5 years. Rhonda's mother's defense attorneys asserted that she was determined to prevent Stephen from getting custody of his and Rhonda's daughter. She didn't want Stephen to capitalize on the $1 million life insurance policy he had taken out on Rhonda's life. The defense argued that Rhonda's mother's actions were driven by her desire to protect her granddaughter and ensure she was not exploited. According to the defense, Rhonda's mother had a history of depression, which intensified after her daughter's death. In order to cope with her grief, she relied on marijuana as a means to self-medicate. The defense team contended that she used the drug as a crutch, that it clouded her judgment and impaired her ability to think clearly. The judge sentenced Rhonda's mother at the age of 53 to 1 month in a halfway house and 3 years of probation. This sentence was imposed after the mother pleaded guilty to the theft of government funds. In addition to the jail time and probation, Rhonda's mother was also ordered to pay back the stolen benefits, amounting to $39,124. Rhonda and Stephen's daughter had been in foster care since the Department of Human Services took custody of her in October 2015. This decision was made after Stephen had pleaded guilty to sexual abuse in the case of the 13-year-old girl. As a result, an Oregon court terminated his parental rights. However, Stephen appealed this decision.